Next is, so I'm kind of having a mindset problem, which is essentially that I don't want to start new things, which would always make me look bad or stupid. I've always done everything above average or at least better than the people around me, so taking on a new task is difficult, and not being good at something is something that I notice myself avoid. Any tips on overcoming that and having more of an open mind, and being okay with the fact that I will not always be the best at something new?
I was kind of like this in high school. Like my identity was that of the kid who got shit easy without working. So if it would require work, it just would be like, well, then I won't do it.
As someone that's always been naturally bad at everything and excelled with a lot of work, I can't identify to this question at all. So I'll let you take it.
I think a thing that did somehow shift in me was that I identified not as the person who had it or was quick, but the person who was there's a certain degree of intelligence required, to emotional intelligence or whatever, to admit that you're not good at things. And like that was kind of like I sunk my teeth a bit more into that identity. And so for you, you'll have to figure out what like makes you feel good. But this is an identity level issue. And so I'll give you a couple of options, because none of these are true of you, but some of these might appeal to you, and you'll just go, yes, this is my new principle that I'll live by. So one is, the most intelligent thing that I can do is suck at stuff. You know what I mean? Because that's the person that I'm going to be. The person that I'm going to be is the one that doesn't get it at first, but gets it right eventually, or whatever. And I'm trying to think of when it was around college-ish that sort of shifted, and I shifted from the kid who got everything very easily to then I was going to go learn charisma, which was like the hardest thing for me on the planet.
Well, the shift, the thing for me, which it's not really a shift, but it's just the mentality I had, is like, I don't really care how good I am on day one. I just care how good I get. And I'm very confident by working at this, I'm going to get better than almost all of you. And so like, that was my motivators with basketball or charisma or school. Was like, okay, I'm not good day one. This doesn't affect my self-esteem at all. I'm going to crush. And like got me to being pretty good at MMA and decent at basketball. And so that was the mindset that I had. It wasn't really a shift, but it's one I might recommend. It's just like, take pride in how good you are in the absolute. Don't compare it like, oh, your day one is better or worse than this person's day one. It's like, who cares? Just work at it and then be good at it, and then take the joy of whatever skill you're trying to learn.
So Personal Power 2 is really good for shifting identity level beliefs. It's the Tony Robbins course. We've talked about it in the past. One of the exercises that is likely, he has several, but to do a pain pleasure analysis of your current belief and of a separate belief. So pick the belief that like sounds like it could be juiciest to you to have. Your current belief is that you're really good at stuff day one. And so you write down first, like, what's all the pleasure you get out of that? You're like, makes me feel smart. I feel better than my friends. I never have to admit that I'm not good at things. Like, you want to take an accounting of what you get out of it. Then you want to take an accounting of everything that it costs you. It's like, I'm only get to do the things that I'm already good at.
Anything I'm not good at day one, I never get to be good at.
And you really want to like beef this one up. Like, oh, I'm also not good at that thing that's really valuable to me, so I'll never be good at whatever. And like, make it sting.
I will never get the person that I desire dating wise because I'm refuse to improve at this.
Or I'm like doing a self-intervention.
I'm gonna lose every time I do this sport or activity that I care about because I refuse to let myself try it or whatever it is. There's going, especially if you want to change this, I promise that this is holding you back in some way.
And to take like a really thorough accounting of how it's holding you back. And then it's just how would that shift if I adopted this new belief? Like, what would my life look like? Like, well, in 6 months, I'd probably be way better at, just take dating as an example. And I'd probably be with someone that I liked. And he runs you through exercises like that. That's one of them that are useful for really changing the beliefs that instruct a lot of behavior. So I would start there.
Next is, I'm a recent college graduate that just moved home from Vancouver, where I lived for the last 5 years. While I was in Canada, I joined a fraternity and saw tremendous growth in myself, both socially and I'm in my now independent charisma, and in my own independent charisma. Now I'm back home in Dallas, where I'm living with my parents while attending pilot school, and I can't help but feel that I'm in a state of personal regression for as long as I'm under my parents' roof. I plan on staying here until I finish training and finding work. I try to branch out as much as I can through the gym, jiu-jitsu, and reconnecting with old friends from high school, but it still doesn't match the level of social interaction that I had when I was in university. My main question is, what steps can I take to be more comfortable with being myself and not feeling like I'm slipping back into being the person that I was before I left for school many years ago?
University is so special for this. It really is just like, you live in a dorm with a bunch of people your age. You walk on a quad with a bunch of people your age. And then you go to a class with separate people that you've not met who are also your age. And then there's a game. So it's there's nothing like it. There really isn't. And you're never going to have an environment that is so conducive to socializing and also like transformation, because when you get there, nobody knows who you are.
It's also pretty common to regress, though, if you go back. Like, if you did pilot school in a new city that wasn't Dallas and wasn't Vancouver, you probably wouldn't feel yourself regress as much. I think there's a sense that your environment can just trigger, oh yeah, I remember this place. This is how I behave in this place.
Yeah. Yes. So one, don't sweat it too much. There's things that you can do, but like recognize that what you're experiencing is very, very, very normal.
How did you do it? Because in college at American University, you started out shy. Then you went to Costa Rica. Then you came back and you didn't revert back. How did you maintain the charismatic improvement you had made in Costa Rica?
Didn't have strong ties at American, honestly. That was why. I had like a handful of friends.
So you didn't have any anchors?
I had very few anchors, and they were anchors still. You know what I mean? Like the handful of people that I did know were like, didn't really like or get it. But
you just went out and made new friends that didn't know you before?
Or that knew me very kind of. And when I got back, I was like, oh, we'll have like a get together. It'll be good to see you. And like, it wasn't it was different, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, you've changed. This is a problem. It was like, oh, this is so cool because I am not attached to you being the way that you used to be.
Versus parents.
Yes. And I had a handful of friends who didn't like all of a sudden going out to like bars, which I never used to do. I used to just hang out with them and play video games. And that was like, you know, they didn't love that.
They found it in that.
Yeah. They weren't huge fans of that.
Did it start with this letter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And also there were a handful of people from the study abroad where I was different with them and they just expected me to be.
Oh, so they came back to AU with you and they saw you and they're like, it's the life of the party guy. And you're like, oh yeah.
Hell yeah. So yeah, that was how I did it.
Got it. Interesting. So less applicable.
Yeah, less applicable. So look, when I'm home and I can't cut out, I guess what I would say is it's kind of just like, look, I eat junk food when I'm home and I try to just put the muscle back on, or not the muscle, because I try to eat better when I get back. So I don't know how long you're going to be in that environment, but it's really tough, man. It's really, really tough. The things that shift, that I have seen shift with my family, is not that I'm much more charismatic, but that I can be more, we have more open and honest conversations. But I'm not like super charismatic, cool, fun party guy when I'm with them. So I don't know that that's even what I have experience aiming at. Here's what I did. When I found myself in environments where my charisma was dying, like in DC, I had to leave. Like I went into my boss's office and told him, I hate the way that I'm behaving. It's not your fault. Like, I don't like who I am in this city. I need to go live with my friend in New York. And for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess what I would say is the environment really is critical. And if you don't have the opportunity to see people your age or new people, you're going to have to. So either find a way to do that in the space that you're in, where you do have that ability to socialize, or
just double down on getting out of pilot school as quickly as possible. And then
look,
move.
I was in DC for a year and a half, you know? And I was visiting Ben as often as I could. I was getting on these, like, they wound up being 7-hour bus rides to New York City on Bolt bus, and just to have that opportunity to
go out for a weekend and remember what it was like to be charismatic.
Yeah. So yeah, good news, bad news, I guess, in my experience there, is that there's not like a really easy way to overcome an environment that is really not built for like social growth or socializing.
What was the good news? That's the bad news.
The good news is you're not doing anything wrong. You know, change your environment. Or, you know, and it's okay. It's also okay to, like, in my experience, to spend a year and a half somewhere that's not what you want. And
get your pilot's license and then get out, basically.
Yeah, and I still would go into the office and try to, like, I was the friendliest dude in the office, and I made friends with the president, and at the parties I would be the life of the party, and I would take the opportunities that I had, but it wasn't, that was a big reason why I left, was to move to New York and hang out with Ben and work on this stuff that I was not working on in DC. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description, and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.